Okay, we should be set.
Thank you everyone for coming together tonight. It's November 10th, 2020, still 2020. We are at our regular city council meeting now. It is 7:03 p.m. And I will call this meeting to order and we'll do a roll call attendance. Summer?
Okay, we have Mayor Emily Niehaus, Carly Castle, Assistant City Manager, Chuck Williams, City Engineer, Joel Linares, City Manager, Halen Jones, Moab City Council, Karen Guzman-Newton, Moab City Council, Lori Simonson, City Attorney, Levi Jones, Public Works Director, Mike Duncan, Moab City Council, Ronnie Duressery, Moab City Council, Tawny Knudsen Boyd, Moab City Council.
Thank you so much. We're now in section 3, citizens to be heard. We are receiving public comments by phone and online through Zoom. Citizens are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. And just to note, we did not receive any written comments for our meeting this evening. Summer, if you'll please bring anyone in that is a citizen to be heard. And it looks like we've got a gentleman here, but it's hard to tell.
We have an iPhone.
We have an iPhone. Welcome. Please state your name and make your comments, and welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Oh,
Well,
thank you. My name is Jason Ramsdell. I live in the Mountain View subdivision on Hunt Ridge Drive, and I thank you for taking my comments.
Thank you for calling in.
Okay, thanks. I would like to say a few things. I really like your analogy, Mayor, about the basket analogy. I really like that. I appreciate that. And I'd like to say that we need to get the bypass out of the basket. It's very important. It needs to be out of the basket. What happens is that this keeps rearing its ugly head because it's in somebody's plan, and it keeps getting dumped into plans over and over and over. And that needs to stop because we keep going through this. We keep wasting time. We waste money. The citizens, most of them that I know, do not want this at all. It's very near and dear to me. I live in the Mountain View subdivision. I don't want the noise and the trucks behind my neighborhood. And that's not the issue. The issue is not truck traffic. It's the incessant advertising for Moab and the traffic from tourists. That's what the problem is. And of course, the UTV problem as well, which is a different topic. But it needs to be out of the basket. You folks need to try your best to get it out of the basket because we keep going through this. You folks have our interests mostly at heart, I think, but that doesn't guarantee that if there's a different type of council or a different council or different legislative bodies, that it could just keep coming up over and over and over. And that's what I would like to say, is that it needs to be out of the basket. And just stop with the bypass. And I really appreciate you taking my comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling in.
You're welcome.
Summer?
It appeared that iPhone and Jason were the same people. And I don't have anyone else in the waiting room.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you for your comments. You can go ahead and log out and follow us on the line on the YouTube.
All right, thank you.
You got to be careful with your metaphors. People use them. Okay, moving right along, we are in section 4, administrative reports. Let's see, is Joel with us? It looks like he's given us hold on just one second. He's on a COVID call. We'll start with the COVID updates. Joel and I spoke earlier about updates, and maybe I can give an update that he was planning on giving. So I've been in touch with the Chamber of Commerce, and it's important to let everyone know that and Karen, you might even be reporting about this in your reports as well, that the Chamber is looking to reimagine our holiday celebrations this year. And from the city's perspective, we will still be decorating the tree in the park, as well as doing the fantastic decorations at our buildings, on our buildings. And we all know how beautiful the Mark is decorated each year. But we are going to, as a good partner, work with the chamber and support the chamber in the decisions that they make regarding the parade and regarding the tree lighting celebration. So the message for tonight is really to stay tuned about that. And that's in response to the governor's emergency contact that he gave us all. Everyone's cell phones went off on Sunday night. And then he made his announcement. Let's see, we're still waiting on Joel. Carly, maybe you can walk through the facilities updates between the MRAC and the Mark regarding COVID.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk about that. So the Mark has been closed to the public, but we are still allowing staff to work there. And we have a co-working space, a community co-working space that's still available to those tenants who use it. So you might see people going in and out, but it's not to the general public. The MRAC is still open and has largely the same operating procedures that it's had in the past, or for the past few months. The governor's order didn't really impact their operations at all. We have, however, canceled swim club and swim team because those were youth sport activities that were suspended by the governor for a period of time, as well as a Whibbit Wednesday gathering that we had in mind, but that's been canceled too because it's a social gathering. So other than that, the MRAC is operating as it has been for the past few months.
Joel, we've just been going through the COVID-19 updates, and we did chamber and we did facilities. So what else do we have?
So the city hall is still closed to the public. We're still there working and operating, but the hall itself is closed to the public. It's going to remain so for the foreseeable future. We're going to keep evaluating it as the cases keep climbing and we see where we're at, and we'll make a determination as to when to open back up to the public. But our numbers are posted online. They're posted on the door. You can call, make a phone appointment with anyone you'd like to. Most of our documentation and everything is available online, so should be able to get whatever you need and keep working forward, but we are close to the public. The health department is no longer sending out daily email updates as far as COVID case numbers. If you're not aware of that, the health department is trying to get everyone to focus on the 7 and 14-day case counts and the percentages of the test positive per case number. And that's kind of a better indicator, they've told us. So if you want to see the daily case counts, you just need to go to their webpage where they're updating them there. We have 20 new cases over the last 7 days. So we currently have 34 active cases. I've had 172 total cases. And so, yeah, put your mask on. We've said it here on this meeting every time we do admin reports. And we reported 2 weeks ago when we had our last meeting that Grand County and the city and the health department were getting serious about mask enforcement. And since then, the governor has came out and said the state's getting serious on mask enforcement. So put it on for you. And if you don't want to wear it for you, put it on for somebody else. It's important. It works. The science is not debatable. So put your mask on. The holidays are coming up. And so we are working with the groups to do the tree lighting and the light parade.
Joel, I already talked about that, so you don't have to talk about
covered all that. Well, that makes my time a lot faster. I appreciate that. I think that Levi and Chuck both have presentations. Clint was going to give you a presentation for finance, but he's out this evening, and so we'll just pick up there next time. I do want to thank, though, before I turn the time over to Chuck and Levi, the Arches Hotspot Funding staff group, Carly and Lisa, Chuck, Nora, Corey, Summer, Mark, and Didar, for all the work they did on that project and to get it to where it is from a staff perspective. I know they did a ton of work, and so I want to thank them and recognize them for the work they did on that project. So I guess we'll go with Levi first because Chuck's going to be here all night anyways.
Sounds good.
Good evening, everyone. I start off with the water department. They've been busy with the widening project. Relocated some water service connections recently. They're going to be starting on Suramac, and that the conflict of the water main on that street. They've been working closely with the Slick Rock campground. They're getting entire new infrastructure, water infrastructure through that park. So we've been closely monitoring that, make sure everything's getting tested correctly. We had a water leak this morning on 100 North in Maine on the west side. It was a 8-inch main. Typical, there was a crack all the way around the main. We threw a Band-Aid on it. It's another statistic of our failing infrastructure. Cast iron pipe. We had a well go down, the well, number 10 well in the Springs went down this morning. The probe failed, and so it kept tripping out the pump. We bypassed that probe. We'll replace it here in the next few days. The streets, they've been busy with potholes. Spent a lot of time on Walnut Lane, trimming trees and getting rid of the weeds down there. Been helping out Kelly with the maintenance with the PD cars and other public works vehicles. They helped out the facilities with some leaves around the city buildings that played a pretty big role in that. It would have took 3 times as long. Sweeper's been active. Walnut Lane, we've replaced a furnace, facilities, replaced a furnace down there. Then winterizing some swamp coolers. Had a couple of floors they replaced, had some holes in some floors, and a couple of toilets. We had a facilities worker start this week, and pretty excited. He's already jumped in with both feet and has been productive. So that's Kelly. Kelly should be back in a couple of weeks from his shoulder, 3 to 4 weeks. That's about it.
Levi, will you talk real quick about well 10 going down and what that means to the system, just to be a water nerd for a minute so everyone knows their water supply is okay?
You cut out just a little bit. Could you repeat that, Joel?
Yeah, will you talk about well number 10 going down and just what that means to the water system so everyone knows what the supply looks like and that everything's all right?
Yep. So it was kind of a big scare this morning. My SCADA system indicated that the well level was at 300 feet. And basically what that means is it was a dry. We ran out of water. That was the indication. And so we had to manually probe that well to verify that it did indeed have water. And so with the equipment not operating properly, it threw some panic this morning initially.
And with that well being down, Levi, do we have enough water in the system? Do we have wells that cover that? And
so in peak day, in middle of summer, we need that well. We need both wells that we have, deep wells. We need another well. We need to have some redundancy. We don't have that.
But this week, as they replace the well, it'll be fine.
It would. So at the moment, that was the smaller one of the two we have, and so 400 gallons to 700 gallons a minute. This time of year, the bigger one we have, which pumps out anywhere from 13 to 1600 gallons a minute, we would be able to sustain. But any other time, we'd be in a crunch.
How soon do you think it's operating, Levi?
We can get that probe back functional with 2 weeks. So at the moment that well's tagged out, we got to run 6. We can't run 10, not knowing what the level is and risk burning it up the pump. I mean, the data shows that we can run it. We're fine, but the demand we have, we can run with just the one well at the moment.
All right, thank you.
Welcome.
Levi, thanks for joining us. Any questions for Levi before we move on? Thanks, man. Oh, Ronnie had a sneaky hand.
Oh, sorry, Levi, I'm forgetful. Can you just remind me, do we already have well redundancy built in our like capital improvements, or is that kind of a new thing we should make sure we're adding?
It's in the master plan, and we're currently working on some projects.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Levi.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Joel, did you say Chuck was next? Chuck's next, right? What's up, Chuck? You're muted.
I'm up. So I thought that what I would do is go over a list of the projects that we're working on to give council an update on it. I'll start with the segue. Nice segue, Levi. We have submitted on our new well number 12. Just last week, we submitted our design package to Division of Water Resources, and we have scheduled a meeting with Mark Stilson in the next week, I believe, as a follow-up. Mike Duncan, to the discussion you had him with about, is there some things we could do to help better understand our aquifer going through this well development? All that being said, Clint and I talked earlier this week about this well number 12. We have design money built into our budget, so that's how we're taking care of it. But we'll need to do a bond issue that was envisioned in when the council raised the water rates. So that our hope is that we'll have this done and in place sometime next spring, well number 12, ready to supplement the rest of the system. Today, the Center Street Gym ADA improvements was started Monday. This is to putting in the handicap lift to get access from the ground floor, basement to ground floor to second floor and the north end of the building, and they should be completed this week. So, you know, when the gym's able to be opened up again, I think that'll be a real improvement. I spoke with Maddie at the county yesterday, and the Bike Skills Park is slated to be open tomorrow, meaning that they'll have take the orange fence, construction fence that's there off of it. So there are still a few amenities that are going to go in, like a kiosk and things in the near future. The bathroom, because of all the delays due to the pandemic, is still 3 to 4 months out, but it's being ordered this week, and we've got design plans to install it. She wanted to share that there have been 270 volunteer hours from like the mid and high school bike teams to help work at the Bike Skills Park as well. Highway 191 widening, and so I attend weekly progress meetings, and usually what I say to them before I say good morning is pave, pave, pave. And Joel and I are on the same page there, that, and so is the contractor, and so is UDOT, that the goal has been to get the road paved curb to curb, knowing that there's a lot of new curbs going in as part of the project before winter shutdown of the asphalt plant. Everybody's still working towards it, but as an example, this week, they're not able to pave much. They did some small paving today because of the temperatures, but next week the temperatures are looking better, and they're continuing to prep for that. So ideally, it would be the first lift, which is 4 inches of asphalt, would be paved from curb to curb, full width for the entire length of the project. And then what will remain open for the winter would be 1 lane of traffic in each direction and a center turn lane. So the new 4-lane configuration with a center turn lane will not be in effect for this winter, but the goal is to have the 3 lanes open, you know, 1 in each direction plus a center turn lane through the winter. Then as other work will continue, concrete work, lighting work, wall work, some storm drain work will continue through the winter. And then as soon as temperatures come up, if the paving will resume and should be completed, we hope relatively quickly. So if that's not clear, I'd be happy to answer questions on that at some point.
I think that's pretty clear, but it's probably worth it to have Lisa put out a statement of expectation as soon as we're at that place where we know what it's going to look like for the winter, to just give residents a heads up the way that you're giving the heads up now. Hopefully our weather sticks and we can pave, and we do get those 3 lanes. But like, let's make sure that we have Lisa give a clear message to the community. Karen?
So just 2 quick questions, Trek. I was curious, so the bonding for the well, I mean, how much are we looking at that we're gonna need to bond for that project?
So in the economic pro forma that we presented to council when you adopted the new rates that Zions Bank did,
Yep.
there was a $6 million bond in this fiscal year, 2021. And that would take care of the well, the Mill Creek waterline improvements, which is a big distribution system improvement, as well as we're going to optimize and secure some of the rest of our system. So it's this $6 million bond. And Clint had told me, you know, not to speak for him, but he and I have been discussing it, that he's planning on it. He thinks that, you know, the revenues are coming in as expected per the economic pro forma.
Okay. And then the second question, I mean, I know there's not a super clear answer, but so the project completion for the highway widening, what is the projected date for that?
Well, they have time on their contract that could go into next spring. But everybody knows, including the contractor and UDOT, that they're trying to get it done prior to next spring, you know, assuming that everything comes back normal and that. At this point, it's a little uncertain, and I hate to give you that answer, but it's the truth. If we can, they're not going to get it 100. I do not believe we'll get it 100% paved out, finished to the top lift this before winter's shutdown.
Right.
But then it would be as soon as we get temperatures, which are about 50 degrees daytime and rising, they would open the plant up and start making asphalt and getting after it. And those are the discussions we're having. So, you know, typically it's April. I think this last year they opened April, first week of April. Could have been in end of March. So I would envision in that time period.
And then can concrete work be done during the winter time?
Yeah.
So will they continue with sidewalks and those projects?
They're trying to get all the sidewalks done. They're up in the southern end of the project, around the 400 north to 500 west. They did quite a bit today. I was out there this afternoon and looked at it. They're trying to get the concrete work for those businesses that have the sidewalks adjacent to them, the curbing area. They're trying to get that buttoned up before the paving shut down. But yes,
Gotcha.
Yeah, when we did 100 west, we worked concrete through the winter. It's a little slower, but it's doable.
Gotcha. Thanks, Chuck.
Mayor, just to clarify a couple of things, if they pave out leaving the 4-inch and put the 3 lanes in, they would work all winter doing cement work, light poles, everything else that are on the side of the road. And then in the spring, the benefit we have in this project is our contractor actually runs the batch plant. So they can fire the batch plant up as soon as they're ready and go. And the idea would be in the spring, that there's no more road work to be done. They're just putting the cap on. They'd come in and put down the top layer. So it'll be quick once they get to that. So the idea is get the lane, get all the pavement in, get the 3 lanes operating so there's not a construction zone all winter, 90 days basically. And then once that's done, they go in and cap the road and they're done with that. The bonding side of things, just want to be clear with everyone. You have to think of the city like we're 3 separate corporations, right? Water, sewer, and general fund. So bonding that's going on through the water is not affecting bonding that we're doing in the other areas. And
That's just through the enterprise fund, right?
That's correct. And that's not for you, it's more for the public, just because we talked bonding a lot last meeting with Walnut Lane, and I don't want people to think bonding there affects bonding in the water department. They don't. They're completely separate.
Yeah. I have a few more. If I can keep going, or would you like me to stop? Okay, a couple more quick ones. Utah State University campus started moving dirt Monday up at the end of Aggie Boulevard. Completion date is projected to be December 15th of 21, so about a year construction. I won't show you the Google Earth after my earlier pains with the PowerPoint, but if you'll recall, Aggie Boulevard continues past the end of the paving right now. It continues and loops around and comes back on what's like Francis Drive to the south. For the time being, that road will remain open because the public uses it. Bicyclists use it, pedestrians use it. I've seen them up there. However, in about a month or 6 weeks, there's a water line that'll start to be installed right there at the end of Aggie Boulevard that'll be in that road right of way. It's the 10-inch water line that needs to be installed so that not only does USU have sufficient water, but the developer from Sitla's developer will have sufficient water too. And at that point, we'll probably have to close stretches of that road just for safety of the public. But we'll work with Lisa again and let everybody know when that's happening. But for the time being, we're just saying road closed except for local traffic only and trying to make sure people have a turnaround. But it's moving. Lions back, the construction trenching is continuing on for the utilities. The current construction schedule is April or May. The utilities should be completed, meaning that new water lines, new sewer lines, water booster stations, sewer lift station, a water tank, all of that infrastructure. However, you know, the developer is working with Nora and you know, she's kind enough to invite me to those meetings for continuity between utilities and subdividing. There's process that they have to go through, and Nora would be better to speak about phase one at some point. The mid-school path, the pathway between 300 South and 400 East. We talked to the contractor yesterday, and they're going to have to keep that closed for about another 3 to 4 weeks while they're building the retaining walls for the new high school. But in hopefully 3 to 4 weeks, it'll be open back up again. And then the north, I wanted to mention that the north trunk line is completed and done. And when Levi mentioned the Slick Rock RV redoing their water and sewer, they were on septic. They're going to hook into the north trunk line, and so is Moab RV. They're actually doing that as we speak. And my last comment is that we tentatively have a water data evaluation work session with council on December 16th. And we're preparing to have a robust discussion about water availability for the city. That's all I had for now, unless there's any questions.
You're a busy department. Thank you, Chuck.
You're welcome.
Joel, I know that we don't have Clint with us. Did we want to discuss the document that he shared with council? Does council want to discuss that, or should we move on?
Nora also.
Before Nora, sorry.
I talked to Clint before this meeting for a minute, and he told me the information contained on that paper he sent out was all the information he gave you last week. He was prepared tonight to go over budget timeline and stuff like that. There was no time crunch on that, so we were just going to push the budget timeline back, and the information he sent you out in that slide presentation on that one sheet was the information he provided you last week.
Got it. Okay. Nora, do you want to go ahead and go? Joel, do you want to have Nora go now? Did you have anything else that? Yep. Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So I just had a question to run by the council. I know, several months ago, we talked about in the assured workforce housing sections, it talks about if you build instead of give money to the Wahoo, if you actually There's some language that talks about unit size and an average of about 1,000 feet. And it talks about 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom configurations. We've been working recently with the Henry Shaw Hotel, which is kind of the last vested hotel that and they are willing. We had a conversation, and they are willing to provide 11,000 square feet of employee housing, but they don't necessarily want to do units. They do want to continue the plan as they originally were proposing, a wing of the hotel that looks just like the hotel, smaller rooms for their employees and for other service type workers. And it's, they would be studio apartments, basically. And they would do however many they need to do to get to their 11,000 square. I think that takes a code amendment. I haven't talked to Lori about it in any great detail, but I think it probably does. Is that something that the county entertain?
So the entertaining that notion would be that it would go to Planning Commission and then to us. So the question is, you want a thumbs up from the council to pursue an adjustment of required square footage, and that the proposal is not that there would be a reduction in square footage, it would just be a readjustment. Is that that's it? Council, let's go for a straw poll and see what happens. If you are in favor of this going to Planning Commission, let's see your thumbs.
I have
No thumbs.
a
Okay.
question.
I just have a question.
Okay, Karen.
Well, or go ahead, Tawny.
Okay.
Laura cut out really bad.
Oh,
I
I'm
just
sorry.
need to clarify that what she was saying was the Henry Shaw Hotel was willing to do 11,000 square feet of workforce housing in their building, and they would basically build little studio apartments till they got to their 11,000 square feet. And she's
Got it.
just asking us to say, yes, go to Planning Commission, no, don't. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and then my question, there was a difference there. So there's still, are they asking for a variance, or they are required to do 11,000 square feet?
They're required to do 11 employee housing units.
Okay,
The formula is based on units rather than square footage, which is something
gotcha.
changing. But then there's a separate section that talks about the average will be 1,000 square feet, and that they would be 1 and 2 bedroom units. So it doesn't talk about studios. Doesn't, a number of smaller units. I mean, I know that 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms are important, but I in the community for smaller units, for people who, individuals or couples who don't want to live in a house with 6 people. Does that answer your question, Karen?
Yeah, the parts I could hear you, yes.
I'm so sorry. My internet has been unstable all day. I don't know why.
2020.
Emory, tell. Yeah.
Okay, so Nora, sorry, just to be as clear as mud. So they were supposed to do 11 1,000 square foot spaces.
Yes.
Okay.
And they
So
want
it's-
flexibility. So yeah, they want to say, well, if we do 11 units times 1,000, that's 11,000, but can we reconfigure it and have even more units, but they're smaller?
And they're on site and look like sort of part of the hotel.
Okay.
So the question to the council is, are we comfortable moving forward to the plan, allowing this to go to a planning commission?
So this is sounding like an issue that we were discussed a year ago, and I thought it had already been through planning commission and come to council, and then we were just trying to dial in the language, but then we haven't heard about it in months. And so, but I thought we had already kind of said we wanted to entertain this.
Well, this is actually a little bit different ask. At that point in time, they were looking at 11 studio units. And the code amendment that we had talked about was to allow flexibility when they're building on site and at the time of the construction of the hotel. And so what we talked about briefly during those discussions was maybe looking at square footage rather than a unit. And I think you sent me a chart that kind of alluded to that. This is a little bit different. I mean, similar, but it's a little bit, I know I'm breaking up.
No worries. So council, what other questions do you have to be able to give Nora the thumbs up to take this to planning commission?
If you could confirm for me, just to make sure I understand this, Nora, so whatever it is they build, it's going to be at least 11 units and at least 11,000 feet total.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So why the hotel proposing this? It sounds like it's more work, more expense for them. What's in it for them?
Their employees can live on site, and they also probably will gain some income from other people being able to smaller units.
Are there any obvious disadvantages to doing what they're suggesting?
In my opinion, no.
Yeah.
But I wasn't around for all the discussions that went into the Assured Workforce Housing Ordinance, so I don't understand all those ins and outs. So that's why I brought it to you, to make sure at least we can move forward to the planning commission.
Ronnie?
I might be the only one who feels this way, but I guess it would be helpful to me to get a little refresher. I mean, if Kaylin's saying we already entertained it, but it sounds like that was something different. I'm trying to remember, and I can't remember off the top of my head without going back and probably looking it up, is if part of what we felt was important to have more room for, families, so that people wouldn't necessarily be squished into a small space. I honestly can't remember all the dialogue right now, so it's kind of hard for me on the spot to give an answer.
I understand. And it's very similar to what we talked about, 6 months ago. But it's different because now they don't want a reduction in the overall square footage. They don't want to, they're not proposing to do 11 400 square foot units. It equals 11,000 square feet. So it's more smaller units.
When I toured the housing units at the Expedition Lodge that are in their basement, they were all three separate, unmarried individuals living together, sharing a kitchen and a bathroom. And I get the studio apartment appeal. It would essentially make a whole lot more units. But I am curious what the, planning commission would say, if they would say, well, yes, but you still have to do a couple with a few bedrooms, or, that they might come back with some adjustment to that. But
And just to be clear, you're not making a decision as to whether or not you think this is a good idea right now. All you're making a decision on is, do you want to start the process for considering it?
Right. I just had a conversation with them yesterday, actually, about this. So that's where it came up.
any other questions for Nora? Karen?
I'm sorry, I was trying to find my documentation, but at the county council meeting, potentially, I think it was 2 meetings ago, the #1 waitlisted housing, hot housing that everybody's searching for is 1 bedrooms. And so I would be in firm support of pushing this to the planning commission.
So that would be a thumb
up.
Okay, we got 2 thumbs. We got 3, 4.
Excellent.
Ronnie, do you have any other comments? I did not see your thumb.
I mean, I guess if it's just bringing us information, as long as no one's getting the impression that we're necessarily going to go one way or another. Like I said, I wasn't prepared to discuss it tonight, so I
Right.
Yeah.
And this just allows us to move forward.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thanks, Nora, for checking in with council before bringing it to Planning Commission. We
Thank you,
will
everybody.
anxiously await.
Okay.
Okay. See ya.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for joining us. Bye. Anything else? Administrative reports from you, Joel?
That's everything. Mayor.
All right. We are on to the present. Oh, nope. Sorry. Our reports. Okay. I will be very, very brief. I attended a water quality board meeting. I attended lots of CARES Act meetings about how to spend money, but one in particular with the League of Cities and Towns giving us direction. Me and Mike and Kaylin got together and did a sidewalk workshop. We are still kind of putting together a presentation to bring to council. But I just want to thank Mike for going around and measuring streets from curb to curb to inform our conversation. That was totally awesome. And I'm very grateful. Still serving on the Commission on Housing Affordability Rural Subcommittee. I don't know what that, oh, Student of the Month is still happening as long as school is in session. And I am still taking I'm still picking up meals for the middle schooler Student of the Month and giving them a pin and making them feel super special and having lunch with them at their school. It's really fun. And I'm still doing that, but we'll just see how everything is going with COVID. And then there was a meeting. So Jalen from the county and I serve on the Association of Local Governments board. And as part of that board, there's an economic development. It's the Southeastern Utah Economic Development D. I don't know what the last D stands for. And they put together a report, kind of a 5-year report. We just went through an update, and I wanted to share with all of you that there is actually a quality of life there, and I added noise to the report because I've just been hearing it loud and clear that is a real big issue for us. And then also the idea of how we're advertising tourism and how we're working regionally to expand tourism outside of the Moab area and share the love, especially with the swell. So between Emery County, Carbon County, and even San Juan County, and making sure that in that plan, those counties actually have infrastructure and parking lots and parking plans and transportation corridors for trucks before they build up their recreation industry like we have. I keep hearing people say, oh, we don't want to be Moab. I wouldn't want to be anyone else, but we certainly are feeling the unintended consequences. And then finally, tomorrow is Veterans Day. And every year we do a pretty big celebration. The school kids come, there's the 21 gun salute, there's the flag folding, and it's a really awesome celebration. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we can't do that type of celebration this year. What Lisa and I will be doing is attending the ceremony, but we are going to make it virtual. We're going to go virtual. And so there will be a Facebook Live event. So it's a federal law that on the 11th of November, it starts at 11, and that it is a ceremony for veterans. So everyone can follow along on Facebook Live, the event. And that's it for me. Ronnie? You're muted, so sorry.
Sorry. So just since it's been a while since we've met, I attended this October 28th webinar, and I was just going to remind people how helpful it is with the CAST emails to give us a heads up on things that are going on. So today I sent you guys all a link to that presentation because I thought it was good, and it's the one I mentioned in the October 30th meeting that's part of this USU series of conservation conversations. And that one was particularly interesting because it just seemed to overlap with so many of the issues we're facing as a community, everything having to do with crowding, to dealing with, what can seem like inconsiderate or clueless visitors, to resource damage. And again, the title of that one is Conservation and Outdoor Recreation Challenges and Solutions to Keeping Parks and Public Lands from Being Loved to Death. And that features speakers from the National Park Service, the Forest Service, state parks around the country, or a representative who can speak to a lot of examples from around the country, and one of the USU professors. I was just going to say, throw in a special thank you to the MARC staff and Lisa Church for all of the Prop 8 work, and to all the voters who supported it. And other than that, I think I just attended other meetings with you guys. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Ronnie. Mike?
Okay, yeah, thank you, Emily. The only other thing I'll add about sidewalks is that the whole point of visiting all the areas in town where there are none right now is to kind of get method to the madness. I mean, I came up with a way of quantifying what areas of town ideally need not have them and should. So we'll talk about that later on. Enough of that. The rest of it this month was pretty much water stuff. Mark Stilson gave a nice presentation as part of a Division of Water Rights presentation. And he's concluded, by the way, that he started to think hard about where the city and the whole valley might actually get extra water if they need it. And the answer is that there isn't any easy place to get it. There's water rights that's pretty much been laid on everything. So while there's maybe additional groundwater down in the valley, for example, a lot of people that already have their hands in it. So there's no easy way to miraculously get extra water, just in case you were thinking about that. And one of these days, I'm going to introduce to you guys the notion of metering new water requests as they come into town. In other words, when people apply for new subdivisions or new businesses, I want us to start actively considering how much water they have and how much new stuff we've allocated, because there's another, as I said, another USGS report that's come out that said our main aquifer that we use is already pretty well tapped out from a safe yield point of view. So all that's still in front of us. I guess I'll stop right there. Thank you.
Sorry, that's a conversation that Joel and I have actually had. Joel, is that something that you want more input from the council or from Mike, or is that something that we can actually start thinking about and working on?
No, we can start working on that. We can, Jeff Gittens is our water law attorney, and there's all sorts of water banking ideas we can do. We can require developments to bring water to the table rather than just letting them tie in and pay an impact fee. I've worked for other cities where they were required to bring water to the table for development. They weren't allowed just to use what we already have. So they essentially have to bring their own water off the market in and give it to us as an exchange. So we're not allocating new water. They're having to purchase and bring in their own. So there's all sorts of things we can do.
Yeah, that'd be great. So Joe, that'd be great. The only other thing I will add is in the end, the safe yield thing is set, the final judge and all that is not me, it's not you. It's going to be the Division of Water Rights, the state water engineer. So thank you.
But Joel, can you explain a little more again about what that means to a developer? So if you want to build a house or you want to build a hotel, what does that mean to, quote, bring water to the table?
So currently, if you wanted to develop in Moab City, if you want to build a house, you just go, you own the property, you pay your impact fees, and you start getting your building permit. Bring water to the table means you have to acquire your water rights, and a part of your application process is you have to turn your water rights in as to prove you have acquired your own water. You're not just buying rights from us when you buy into your building permit. So they bring their own water right with them to the development process.
And can we say some have water rights and some have to bring it to the table?
I've never worked for someone who had a mixed bag. I don't know that, to be honest with you. That'd be more of a Jeff Gittens question, but Jeff could definitely answer that for us if we want to start going down that road.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for entertaining that. And thanks, Mike, for bringing that up. I forget how we sit. Who's next? Tawny.
But all my meetings are next week and the end of this week. So I really don't have anything this time. The museum canceled their meeting for November. We'll combine it in December, so.
Okay, thanks. Karen? You are muted.
Sorry, guys. Okay, now I gotta go back. So since our last meeting, I had a chamber board meeting. Emily touched on what is the issue with COVID Christmas. The questions now are regarding the light parade.
COVID killed Christmas.
So the idea that is floating as of yesterday is to have, just like what you guys are gonna do for Veterans Day, is to have a Zoom tree lighting, house lighting, participation Facebook opportunity for the community. And the chamber's thinking of asking businesses to decorate their the individual businesses and to have potentially a Christmas drag on Main, so people can go still be in their own vehicles with their families, drive down Main Street. There's potentially, I hear rumors of a fire truck and a Santa, and so judging would still happen for the businesses, and it'll be, you know, the community will be able to judge on who is the best decorated or the most creative. So that it was as of yesterday. This is, I mean, we're dealing with, you know, only having 2 weeks to come up with a plan. We had our joint and final Arches Hotspot meeting, and I also attended a ULCT town hall for local leaders, the COVID economic impact. Just some quick tidbits. Personal income has contracted for every sector. The forecast for Utah is not clear. As we very well know, in Grand County, that leisure and hospitality and natural resources are the two hardest hit sectors in the economy. Construction and personal service are seeing robust growth. Greg Bell, the CEO of the Utah Hospital Association, mentioned that there will be a full delivery of a vaccine by the end of the second quarter. And a first phase of the vaccine for frontline workers will start being disseminated on December 1st. 45 states are seeing COVID surges. The nursing staff in the state of Utah is down 20%. And up north, we're admitting 50 to 60 patients a day due to corona complications. So like Joel mentioned, wear your mask. And I was gonna ask you guys, our meeting months ago in regards to having banners or flags, what has happened with that? Are we doing that?
Well, we priced them. They were a little more than we expected. And so at the time we didn't feel like we had the financing to do it, but with the CARES funding and everything we just got, that's where we're looking at doing it at this point. We didn't have the funding for that with the signs and everything else we've been trying to do. So we put the electric signs out and got that out there, but when we got the cost for the pole signs, it was like more than we expected it to be, and basically sat on it for a minute.
Okay. And then the last meeting I had was an airport board meeting, and we just were working on approving lease templates for the next 10 years. So that was it.
Thank you, Karen. Kaylin?
I attended the Housing Task Force meeting, and primary discussion topics were an employer survey to try and assess current housing practices and needs in the private sector. So hopefully we'll get some good data out of that. And then the developer of Namaste Rock, which is a project near 313-191, engaged us in a discussion. He's interested in doing a manufactured home development up there, and was extolling the virtues. But we'll get into that shortly, I suspect. I attended Trail Mix. The regular city rep wasn't there. We discussed the hotspot proposal. They were interested in the Spanish Valley Trail component, as well as like who's going to maintain it. The Brands and Grandstaff Canyon trails are now National Recreation Trails. The National Recreation Trails program seeks to recognize exemplary trails of local and regional significance to promote their use and care and stimulate the development of new trails. Let's see, one of the trail mapping websites, which is based on social input, was miscategorizing some non-motorized trails as ORV. So Paul has relationships with multiple of the social-based trail sites. So if you notice such things, you can let Paul know and he'll try to get it straightened out. Went to a travel council meeting. We spent a fair amount of time talking about the Grand County resolution. Mary McGann was very good at clarifying that it was acknowledging that it's a lot of what the travel council advertising currently does, but just it was as much to communicate with constituents as with the travel council about what the expectations are about the advertising. And Elaine clarified that motorized recreation hasn't been the focus of the advertising in years, and increasingly their advertising is about stewardship and education, and as of this year, diversity. They are about to engage in redoing the special events application, which may lead to criteria adjustments. And that sounds like it's at the county level, but I was curious if this would be a time for the city to engage as well. So that might be something for y'all to think about. They had questions about what's up with the street ATV stuff at the city as a follow-up from our joint meeting. And I realize I've talked to Joel about that a little bit, but at some point, I think it's in the future agenda items. It's something we're going to talk about soon, but people are curious. And that's what I've got.
So, Caitlin, real quick, at our last meeting, or maybe it was one before, we did do an update on the signs and the OHV requirements that we did. We've ordered the signs. They're 4 to 6 weeks out from when we ordered them, which was, I think, 2 weeks ago is when we did the update. So we're about a month out. We're buying poles. We have to replace a lot of the poles to 7-foot or higher poles so we can get the signs on to one side. So we gave an update of one of the meetings. They all run together at some point. So I don't remember which one it was, but we have ordered them. The time they were 4 to 6 weeks till delivery. They met the state requirements. The 4 main ones that we ordered are UDOT's approving them to put on the highway because we have to get UDOT approval for those ones. And so we have 4 big ones that give the language for everywhere. Then we have the smaller ones that are going to go up on all the poles everywhere, and they're ordered and we're just waiting to get them. By the time we get them up, it's going to be middle of winter. So they'll be up and in place for February, March as everyone kind of comes rolling back in. If they ever go away this year, who knows? This is the craziest year ever. So maybe we're going to have visitors all winter.
And we'll be sure to put that on the December agenda as just a conversation in anticipation for the legislative session. Thank you, Kaylin. Thank you, Council, for all your engagement and hard work. We are now at item 6, presentation of the CARES Act funding. Joel. You're muted.
Apparently that's the theme for the night, because I think every one of us has done it at this point. So I have a presentation for everyone. I'll try and go through it relatively quickly. We're kind of going somewhat slow tonight. So the city received CARES funding, and we wanted to go over real quick what we had received and what we were looking at. Can you guys see my PowerPoints there?
Yep, it looks like if you start your slideshow, it'll get bigger.
All right, let's see if we want. Zoom never likes that, but we'll see what it does. Did it switch it for you?
No, but it's probably big enough if you feel.
Yeah. Okay, so the CARES funding is the Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act. It was passed and it covers the time frame from March 1st to December 30th of this year. That's the window we're talking about for the funding that we received. Payments from the fund can only be used to cover costs or necessary expenditures incurred because of COVID. The requirement expenditures due to the public health emergency means the expenditures must be used for actions taken to respond to the public health emergency. And so we received our CARES funding initially in the amount of about $470,000. That money is restricted in how we can use it, okay? The restrictions are pretty lengthy. We've done a lot of deep dive into them. When we initially got our funding for the amount of $470,000, we didn't have a clue how much that was in aspects of what we were going to need because we got it so early on in what we were doing, and we didn't know what the restrictions were. So we started reviewing these rules, and the rules say that we can cover anything that's an unbudgeted expense caused by COVID-19. For a cost to be considered to have been incurred during the period of performance and delivery of that money must be done before December 30th. So they told us that the money you have to spend, and you have to spend it prior to December 30th. You can acquire service and pay it within a reasonable time after December 30th, but that's probably like a 90-day window. And so this money basically had to be spent by December 30th. One of the rules says that an eligible expenditure for this money is for public safety that is substantially dedicated to mitigating and responding to COVID-19. Another use would be teleworking, expanding that use, and another use is grants for small businesses to reimburse for the cost of business interruption caused by required closures. And so those are the three main areas of COVID CARES money that we could use and what that means to us. When they describe public safety, the question then became among cities whether or not we had to keep tabs of all the hours public safety works normally and what hours they were working towards COVID and keep that as a separate issue. And initially that was in the rule book that that's how we had to do it. But they did an amendment to the rules and that said that any public safety was substantially dedicated under the rule to mitigate or responding to COVID-19 was a health emergency, and that the full amount of payroll and benefits from that substantially dedicated public safety group, which includes law enforcement, could be counted towards your CARES funding expenditure. And so we initially get our funding from them. Is it rotating at all?
What do you mean by rotating?
Is the slides changing?
We're at the CARES funding 2020 slide.
Okay. Perfect.
All costs of such employees.
Okay, perfect. On my screen, it's not changing. So
Got it.
I love Zoom. It's awesome stuff. Okay. So all costs of such employees may be covered using payments from the funds for services provided from March 1 to December 30. And public safety employees would include police officers. So recipients may use payments for the fund to cover the portion of the payroll and benefits of that time spent in that fund period. Okay. Any money we don't spend before December 30th, we have to return to the federal government. We have to turn to the Department of Treasury. So we basically have like a 40-day window to try and spend the amount of CARES funding that we got. When we initially got our CARES funding in the amount of $470,000 back in June, we had no idea what that meant other than that's what we had received. Well, about a month later, the State Tax Commission released numbers on what the impact of COVID had been. And when they did that, we brought that information to you guys and showed that we had lost 43% of our sales tax revenue of $41 million, and that we were the #1 impacted city in the state with that. And we had also received the least amount of CARES funding of the 62 cities that in that same quarter of the year before who had $50 million in sales tax revenue of any other city in the state of Utah. So we were the #1 impacted city, and we received the very least amount of CARES funding. And so we came to you and told you that we were going to start working on that and that we were going to address that with the state legislature and move forward. So that's what we did. We then took steps to increase our CARES funding. We worked with the state legislature, and they ended up increasing our CARES funding from $470,000 to $1.1 million. And so that amount of money is what we've now received. We received it last week. It is in our bank account. Under these set of rules that are very limited in how we can spend it, we have to spend this money by December 30th. Okay. So what we spend approximately in public safety during March 1 through December 30th is $1,067,881. And so in order to be able to spend this money in that amount of time, we're proposing right now that we put that money into police, law enforcement. We cover that cost that we would put into that normally. And that gives us the vast majority of the spending done out of the way with time to spare, and creates a record of both our payroll and our time cards for when we get audited of this money, we can document how we spent it. This leaves approximately $100,000 in CARES funding to be spent within the CARES Act framework. So based on the rules presented and through a thorough review of the CARES Act regulations, I'm recommending we use most of it allocated funds to fund public safety during the allowed period. The remaining amount of $100,000 could be used for community outreach through grants or retained by the city for future projects for the benefit of the city and its residents. Those are the options that would be remaining for the $100,000. This will allow for us to retain the amount allocated to us in a required time frame and be able to generate the necessary documents for an audit of those funds in the future. The grant programming that we could put forward would include food vendors, unprepared food, restaurants, hospitals, food producers, rent relief. Those are all permitted uses under the CARES funding rules. And so we would, as a staff, generate what the rules for that grant process would be and bring that back to you at the December 8th meeting for approval. In the COVID CARES Relief Fund rules, it basically states that we should try and give it to people who have not received a benefit already. And so they highly recommend that we make an application system and that we have some sort of grant system in place where if people have already received PPP, or if they've received unemployment benefits, or if they've received some sort of grant funding already, that we try and get this money to people who are in a situation where they can use it, but they haven't received any relief in the past. And again, I want to emphasize, we're proposing to do it this way because we don't want to return the money unspent and not leave it in the community. And so we're proposing to use it in the manner because we have to use it by December 30th. Putting it into the police department sums up the vast majority of it. The remainder we can get out into the community before we could lose that amount. It also would free up budgeting aspects that would allow us to do more going into the future as well.
Can you repeat the amount that you were looking to allocate for that grant program again?
So this amount is there.
Thank you.
And that is completely subjective. Like this slide says, this is what I'm recommending. If you guys want to adjust that, we can definitely do that over the next month as we bring this forward back for the December meeting for approval.
Are you done presenting?
Yes, ma'am. Do you want me to stop sharing?
Okay, you sure? It was a lot of information. Direction that you're looking for from this council?
So I'm not looking for direction as much as I'm just getting out there kind of what the numbers are, what the rules are, the fact we have to spend it in the 30 days, or excuse me, by December 30th, the fact that we have to use it in certain ways, and if we don't use it, we lose it. And I'm proposing this format to get it so we maintain and retain all of the money that we were given and put it into a grant program in a way that we can get it to the community in a time frame that works under the set of rules and allows us to keep all of the money so we don't have to return it after the December 30 deadline.
So is that clear to the council what Joel's proposing?
Joel, I just think that you probably should clarify that enables us to move the money that we had budgeted in the police department back to the general fund. And so the city can utilize that in whatever ways we need to.
That is correct. So by one of the allowed uses being public safety, once we spend that money in the public safety department, it's spent. And we meet the requirements under the CARES Act. We then have the documentation for an audit. We're completely on board with a quick, simple audit to be able to be done with this. By funding the police department with that money, then it will free up money to come back into the general fund to cover losses, this grant program, other things, other places we can spend money. So, you know, if we get going into the grant program and find that $100,000 isn't enough, we could potentially make it higher, we can make it lower, we can adjust it as kind of what's appropriate to keep the city coffers in check, but at the same time, provide the relief that's needed within the community.
So Joel, is this what you were asking last week to meet with council about?
Yeah.
I never heard from you.
My assistant reached out to you, and the information I was given was the earliest you can meet was Wednesday morning at 9 a.m.
I was never contacted.
Well, I have the text from her. I can show you later in the follow-up meeting that has that information.
Yeah, no, that'd be great.
Okay. Because in the prior meeting, we had discussed the fact I needed to meet with you prior to this meeting. And
and I said I can meet Thursday or Friday or Monday, and I never heard anything. So I was just curious.
Okay. So that's it. So basically over the next couple of weeks, we're going to put together some programs. I'd like some feedback from you guys as we go forward and we have our other meetings, letting me know where you would like to focus the money, where you'd like us to try and use the money, the type of programs you'd like to see. Tonight's just to get the information out there so you guys all have it and the public has it and we have an idea of kind of what's needed. And then we'll build the program over the next 30 days as we go forward.
Well, thank you for that presentation and sharing all of that. It's very exciting. I'm so grateful. It really is going to help us get through not only the crisis, but keep us in the black and keep us moving forward and providing the critical services. So and again, I know I said this in the last meeting, but I'm just so grateful for other cities and towns that went to bat for us, resort communities in particular. So a big thank you to everyone that listened to our need and advocated for us. So then it'll be an agenda item for December where you'll be presenting an official final use of funds, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then is that like a budget open, or it's more just because we're going to be using existing line items, expenses within our existing budget? Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that we've allocated community contributions as a line, so it would be like a pivot from that to a different type of contribution?
It could be, or it could be a community contribution type setup. That's over the next month with you guys. That's what I want to work through and figure out how you want to do this.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joel. Okay, unless there are any other clarifying questions that council has about the CARES Act funding, we'll move on. Okay. So we're now at the approval of minutes. We've got minutes from October 13th, which was a regular meeting, October 20th, which was our special joint meeting with the county, October 27th, our regular meeting, and October 30th, our special meeting, the Arches Hotspot meeting, and then minutes also from the November 4th housing special meeting. So to the council, is there a motion? Ronnie?
I can move to approve all those. Do you want me to list the dates again, or?
No, I think you could just approve the minutes as stated on the agenda.
Okay, great. And I sent some things to Summer. Thanks for dealing with us, Summer.
Thanks, Ronnie. Is there a second?
I will second.
Okay, Mike, thank you. So Ronnie, you had that a few things. Did any other council members have anything to share? Okay. I'll call for the vote. Mike?
Aye.
Ronnie?
Aye.
Connie?
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
Kaylin?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Old business 8-1 Walnut Lane IFB Award, briefing and possible action. Caitlin, welcome back. Thank you for taking us through that last special meeting of the minutes we just approved and set us up for what we are doing here tonight.
Thanks, Mayor, and thank you, council and staff, for letting us have a special meeting last week to really take the time to talk through this project. So just to give a quick recap, which is included in the agenda summary to bring us to the potential action item tonight. The city in September released an invitation for bids for manufactured units and also modular units. And that closed. And so I brought the results of that IFB as well as a committee recommendation to the October 13th meeting. At that meeting, council motioned to request for more information about the equity needs and more of the financial needs for the project. So over the last about a month, we've had a couple of meetings. On October 27th, I brought those financial options, including a couple of different scenarios for how to proceed with the project generally, which would also lead into how we would respond to the results of the IFB. So those three options were replacing all of the units with new manufactured units, proceeding with the 80 unit pad development, which used the, and then also doing an R4 zoned market rate development. And both the pad and the R4 development, those scenarios used the recommendation from the committee, which was for the Indie-Dwell bid included in the packet tonight. At that October 27th meeting, council gave a straw poll opinion to proceed with the pad option. And so on November 4th, last Wednesday, we had a special meeting to talk more about some phasing options and associated timelines and pro formas for different options for the pad development. And at our special meeting, council general consensus was to proceed with phasing option A, and to, at this meeting tonight, to proceed to award a bid for the results of the IFB. So that's kind of a brief overview of how we got to today. And so I am presenting to you in the packet a recommendation from the committee to award the bid to Indie-Dwell. But as it is stated in your agenda summary, per the city's procurement procedures, you could proceed with motion, or you could proceed with one of the alternative motions as well. So very brief overview. I know that Kaylin has, we've received a few emails from Kaylin today, and I know he has some additional thoughts about the project. So I have some responses. I didn't have time. I had time, but didn't send those via email because I knew it would be too soon before this meeting for council to proceed with them. So I want to give Kaylin a few minutes if the mayor and the rest of the council would like as well. I'm happy to respond to some of the thoughts that he sent over the last, throughout the day. But yeah, so that's kind of a brief overview.
Thank you for that, Caitlin. And yeah, Kaylin, I do want to give you some time to speak to some stuff that you were sending to the council today to consider some information via email. But so would you like to take that time now to do that?
I could, but I could also wait. I mean,
well, I think for me, I would love to just have you explain, if possible, just like a explanation sentence of like what you're thinking about this agenda item and the proposed motion that's in front of us.
Sure, I'd be glad to. So I don't know if I can do it in one sentence, but so I feel like we and I, equally with the rest of the council, entered this process somewhat aspirationally and optimistically with the purchase of this property to develop needed workforce housing. And I'm realizing that I'm looking back on it with a little bit more clarity than I had at the time. And so I'm viewing this in the context of like, okay, I mean, we have a decision before us whether or not to purchase 8 units of housing, but it's enmeshed in the overall decision about like how we do this, how we take this piece of land and deliver workforce housing to the community. And because of my skepticism about some of the assumptions in the pro forma, I am questioning whether or not our current delivery model is really appropriate. I'm not sure that I want the city to get into the affordable housing business to the extent that we're contemplating. I feel like, and I wish I'd brought this up a year ago, like HASU is a competent affordable housing developer. We're a city of 5,000. We ask a lot of our staff as it is. And I'm not sure that I want to get into this whole other sphere of activity when there's a competent not-for-profit entity in the community that does deliver projects like this. So that's the context.
Is there a reason why, or have you talked to HASU about why they didn't, why we're, working with Architectural Spirit as opposed to HASU, why they didn't bid as the developer or as a pre-development partner?
No, I haven't asked them that. I do know that they ended up, after much negotiating with the owner of the MAPS project, that they ended up, the land was donated to them with criteria that was negotiated.
Well, thanks for sharing your thoughts. And you did send materials. I'm curious from other council members what your thoughts are about moving forward with Indie Dwell, but also in reflection of some of Kaylin's concerns that he's sharing with us. So it is really before us to, to respond to, what Caitlin's asking, but also to take in consideration Kaylin's suggestion. Karen?
So, I mean, I too, I never really was very excited about becoming housing developers as a city entity, but we went into this thinking that we're going to be able to offer housing for our core community, and I still see it as a viable option to offer housing. I mean, we deal with a police department that is always trying to hire folks, and housing is the biggest issue. I really see this growing, not just for the lowest income bracket of our community, but really employee housing for the most needy community members, that and it's teachers, and it's police, and it's fire, and it's hospital, and it's downtown, and it's close to all of those entities. And so I really see this as an opportunity for us to move ahead and have a successful housing project. There's other communities, I look at Park City, and they have an extremely long wait list, and it's very nice housing, and it's a place that people want to be, and I see this as an exciting opportunity. I wouldn't be as excited if I thought that we were going to be in debt for years and years, but I mean, looking at the pro forma and the possibility of starting to pay off these loans in 4 to 5 years and having an asset, It doesn't mean that we're going to be property managers forever, but I think this still is a viable project, and I would like to go ahead with moving forward.
I would agree with what Karen says. I don't think any of us, when we thought this was a good idea, anticipated it turning the way that it has. And I guess when you purchase real estate, there's always a chance, you always take a risk. There's always a risk involved. And there will always be a need for this housing in Moab. And if we can put forth a good product and a place that people want to land, it helps them get established in Moab, and it's maintained in a way that it becomes an asset to that part of town, and an asset for the city. I think that we can't, I don't see a viable way to back out and change what we've done so far. I think we have to go with what's in front of us, and things will happen. It's a construction project, it's a development project, and things will happen, and none of us can anticipate every single thing. But overall, this is needed housing for our entire community.
Thank you, Tani. Other thoughts? Ronnie, Mike?
Yeah, let me put in my 2 bits worth, I guess. I guess I'm just asking all of us, the original thought was this is the poorest part of town, lowest income bracket that we were going to build for, and that's what we were going to building for. If I was one of those guys, I think Kaylin is right in the sense that we could put in nice new trailers out there, and those folks would be delighted pink. You could also consider them to be temporary replacements for phase 1, and then later on when we get to phase 2 and 3, we could ditch them if we decide to do so at that time and replace them with modular housing or stick-built housing, whatever we choose to do. So I like Kaylin's idea in the sense that it gives us some flexibility. But the other part of it for me that I'm still mulling over, frankly, is what do we want this housing to look like? I fully agree with Karen that there's going to be a lot of people who have better incomes who will be able to afford the independent-dwelling, the modular housing, and they will like living in better quality units. And I think there will be not profitable is the wrong word, but a going proposition, all right, for what the city will be able to offer its residents. The only thing that concerns me, as you guys know, I've expressed opinions before that it's a squeeze. I mean, and as I said in a letter this afternoon to you guys, if we're so financially burdened getting this thing to pencil out, plus all the other financial constraints that the city will have in front of us, so that the first time we get a cost overrun, and we will have more cost overruns, there's no question about it. If we feel like we have to panic, all right, and say implement a property tax to pay the bills, or raise the rents exorbitantly enough to get things to pencil out, I just want to make sure that we all feel like we can defend that in good faith. Because some people are going to say, hey, what are you guys, you're going to turn us into an Aspen. All right, and that's not our intent. So forgive me for offering a mixed bag of opinions. I'm not really quite sure what I'm advocating for here, but I can see both points of view, frankly.
Let me respond. If we were to have a cost overrun, or if we were to, so we're just looking at initial pro forma numbers. We haven't put anything out to bid beyond IndyDwell and, basic infrastructure for that. And we know that, in terms of the overall financial outlook, that we can afford this and move forward. It's kind of like when you're shopping for a house, you can look at, you can go to your lender and ask for a 15-year term. And then they might say, well, that's not going to work for you. And then you say, well, what about a 20-year term? And then they say, yep, that'll work. So it's all about, what the cost is going to be and then the terms of the loan. But we've already heard from Zions Bank that we've got that flexibility. So Mike, to your point, we would never, ever implement property tax to at all, that would ever at all be tied to this project, because we would not need it. It wouldn't, and it would not even be part of the formula, that the adjustment of the formula. I hope that that's really clear, because I don't want anybody listening tonight to think, oh, well, they're going to raise my property tax to build Walnut Lane. That is absolutely not something that the city would do. It's not been proposed, and it is not on the table for consideration for affording whatever it is that we're about to build. And so, you know, I just wanted to respond to you saying that, to that comment, with the hopes that that's clearer communication, and that also that gives a little more assurance of, like, you know, what we're working with in terms of affording this type of asset for our city and our community members.
I'd like to hear what Joel and Carly think and Kaylin think. I mean, if you guys could divest yourself of it, and Joel, you in particular, with your experience in municipal cities and so forth. I mean, how did all this strike you? I mean, what would you do?
The project just has to pencil. I think Kaylin's doing his due diligence by making sure that the pro formas are what they're supposed to be. I think that he's going down a rabbit hole that we as staff have been down for a year, and there's no easy answers. I think Bonnie makes good points that there's going to be hiccups, and we just got to either be willing to plow through them and do the project or not. And I think we made the decision a long time ago that we're doing this project. I think we've already rounded that corner. So we've got to be smart and make sure that it pencils, and that it is, if it pencils, then it is the asset that the mayor says that we will have. And if it doesn't pencil, then we have an anchor. So we've got to make sure that the form is right, and that's what we're trying to do. And if it is, our bonding's there, we build a project and we pencil this thing out, and we're good to go. So.
Okay, thank you.
Could we also speak to, maybe Caitlin, you could speak to answer that question as well. Just the, in going with the pad, the council back in the pad days, when we went through and approved the pad, we ensured market rate be included in the pad. Can you just remind us again what that income spread would be, so that we're really clear about, like, how many units are restricted to low, extremely low, you know, very low, low, moderate, and no no restriction?
Sure. So I can pull up specific unit counts. So the pad reads that for development over 5, or just generally in a pad unit, 70% of those units have to be deed restricted at 100% AMI and below. So only 30% can be market rate. So looking at the pro forma, and I also both apologize and thank Ronnie in particular for pointing this out in the comments about some of these not totally adding up. So, but just as we stand right now, for extremely low income, so just generally overall, the way it pencils out right now in the pro forma, only 12 of the units are market rate, which means that we are surpassing the requirements for meeting the pad requirement. So as it's broken down right now in the pro forma that I sent you guys yesterday, we have 12 extremely low income units, 14 very low income units, 16 low income units, 26 moderate income units, and then the 12 market rate. And so that adds up to 80 units. So we do, I mean, this is like at the very heart of it, this is a mixed income development. It very much hits at the point that Karen was making earlier about needing housing units for essential workers. You know, I've had conversations with Ben at the Housing Authority about, you know, how, you know, I think the Housing Authority is doing a really great job at providing homeownership and rental opportunities for our extremely low, very low income, but we do have a gap. We have kind of this missing middle housing where we need more of the very low to moderate and even market rate. So I think that that is a great unit mix, and that's what's in our pro forma right now. So.
And what we also need is rentals. We need way more rentals in Moab, just across the board. Way more there. It's very difficult to find a place to rent in Moab right now.
Yes.
So, I mean, we talk about the income needs, but we frequently forget to also talk about the rental needs. And what's promising about those numbers is that what I found in doing, in my former life of income verification, is that when we're talking about somebody that's qualifying at low income, we are talking about teachers. Low and sometimes very low is service workers, and moderate is when we start to get into more government positions, and then yet we would still have 12 units unrestricted above that, where we would have the opportunity as the property owner to be able to play with those units and do some administrative recruitment and housing placement as well. So I like that spread, and I really like the eating number too, because of how it's addressing the number of rentals needed. Ronnie, we haven't heard from you. What are you stewing about?
Oh, me and my bottle of Advil, we sit next to each other. Actually, it's generic ibuprofen. No, I mean, I think I'm ready to move forward. I mean, like everyone, we took this on, not being experts in this area, with good intentions of wanting to make sure that that property didn't sell and become something else, and also out of respect for the property owners who sold it, who wanted that to be maintained as accessible housing. So, yeah, so it's a little nerve-wracking to take the risk, but I feel like we've done a lot of work. I was just going to check with you, Caitlin. I think in the responses you sent to me, you did said you were going to write up just a revamped pro forma, and I might have missed it in my email. I was looking in my inbox for stuff from you, and I just was going to check if there was one, because I appreciate all the time Caitlin's taking to think about this, and he may well prove right, but I think the majority of us are willing to risk trying this thing, and it seems like we'll kind of learn as we go. But I did think it was really important that he did things like look at soft costs, because that definitely did, change numbers. So I didn't know if you had revamped it, if there's any value in pulling it up and just pointing out just some key things that have changed from those alterations, just so we all know what the final version that we're signing on to.
Sure. Yeah, so that, and I should have clarified that in the comments. So that Excel that I was referring to, I just posted in the Google Doc agenda summary.
Okay.
But I should have also emailed that. But yeah, so that's where I put it.
Okay, sorry.
And I tried to make it clear because I highlighted it in like orange or something. But anyway, I would be happy to pull up some of I've been making several changes today, so we can walk through those. My hands are kind of cold, so my computer mouse is not wanting to work right now. Let me share that.
So, Mayor, while she's pulling that up, it seems like there's the will of the council majority is clear. So I don't know that we need to belabor this any more than we already have over multiple meetings.
Were you going to make a motion?
I'm not going to make the motion, but
I would entertain a motion, and I appreciate that comment a lot, Kaylin.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move to award the
Caitlin, why
contract.
don't you hold on one sec, okay?
Sorry.
Go ahead, Tani.
Ready? I move to award the contract for construction, delivery, and installation of modular units to Indie Dwell as recommended by the IFB Selection Committee, and authorize the mayor to sign the contract with Indie Dwell for an amount not to exceed $1,075,095.
Thank you, Tawny. Is there a second? Karen? I'm going to take that as a second, even though you were muted, because I saw your hand and your lips move.
Sorry, that was a second. Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Do we still want to look at this information from Caitlin? No? Mike's saying no. It's information, no. Tawny, no. All right, I'll call for the vote then. Ronnie,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Tawny,
Aye.
Kaylin,
No.
Karen.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Thank you
4-1.
for, sorry, 4-1. What's math? What's math in 2020? Thank you, Mike. Thank you all. Good deliberation. I very much appreciate that. And now we're moving on. Caitlin, thank you so much for being here for this agenda item.
Thank you for all your work on this, Caitlin, and everybody else that worked on it.
Yeah. Now we're jumping in. Okay. Item 8.2, proposed resolution 44-2020, a resolution regarding the city of Moab's commitment to funding years 4 and 5 of a recreational hotspot transit shuttle pilot program, briefing and possible action. Carly, thanks for sticking through this meeting with us.
Not a
We
problem.
turn to you.
Good evening. So this agenda item should be familiar to all of you because it was discussed during your joint meeting with the County Commission on October 30th as part of the Arches Hotspot concept package. So during that meeting, you approved a transit shuttle pilot project to be included in that concept package. And that's for UDOT's consideration to then recommend to the Transportation Commission. UDOT has explained that for them to recommend this transit project, they will require skin in the game from the local community, meaning Moab City and Grand County. The investments they have agreed to is that the local municipalities agree to fund years 4 and 5 of this transit shuttle pilot project. It's approximately $500,000 per year for a total of $1 million, roughly. So that is the action item before you today. It's a resolution whereby the city lays out its intent to commit to this funding for years 4 and 5. I know Council Member Karen Guzman Newton has worked really hard on this too, so I'm sure she's available to answer questions, but happy to take your questions as well.
I think that was a very good summary. And I think that any one of us would have to have been sleeping under a rock not to be extraordinarily familiar with what we're about to take action on. I'm not sure that we need any further discussion on this. I certainly would entertain a motion, but yes, Karen?
I was going to approve resolution number 44-2020, a resolution regarding the city of Moab's commitment to funding years 4 and 5 of a recreational hotspot transit shuttle pilot program.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Mike. Karen, I'm very grateful to you for being persistent about this transit, about not only putting it on the table, but working with UDOT to get the first 3 years funded. But then also to relieve the concerns of this 4th and 5th year funding by sharing with this council the different avenues of and sources of funding for funding the 4th and 5th year as well. So I'm very grateful to all of your work that you've done. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Does anybody else want to say thank you to Karen?
Thank you, Karen.
Okay.
That was awesome.
I don't know how you talked them into it, Karen. They turned me down, but you must have better luck than I do. Persistence pays off, okay?
It's a good project.
Yeah. Okay, is there any other discussion on this item? Okay, I will call for this vote. Kaylin,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Ronnie,
Aye.
Connie,
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Yay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. And we are at the approval of the bills against the city of Moab. Tani.
Yep. I move to approve the bills against the city of Moab in the amount of $257,784.69.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ronnie. Discussion?
It's looking a little more hopeful.
Good. Hopeful. That's what you want to hear from the person approving bills. Hopeful. Okay, I'll call for the vote. Kaylin,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Connie,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Ronnie.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you all so much. We are now on agenda item 10, executive closed session. And so is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Thank you, Ronnie. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Karen. Those in favor, Tani,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Ronnie,
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Kaylin.
Aye.
We are now going into closed session. So we're going to take a pause. Summer's going to do her magical thing, and we will stop the YouTube and the YouTubing of this meeting.
Do we sign out? We sign out of this one and sign back into the closed session?
Oh, that's right. That's right. We have another one. So yeah, go ahead and sign out, and then we'll zoom back in, and we'll just say goodnight to Carly, I guess, and who else? Any other staff? Unless you're joining us for the first item, you will be.
Litigation section.
Okay, well then I'll see you all soon.